welcome back to Sun, Sand, and Soul. Great conversation with David Podein, guys. I think it was both illuminating and it's obviously this is the future of the market that we're dealing with. I mean, this is what it's going to be.
I'm really upset he's now at 30 waist. And I am having to come to grips with going from 32 to 33 to 34.
Do you see it or do you just feel it? Is that one of those things that like you can't really
just
see
feel it, and then now I look down.
But you're resigned. So you're not going to do anything.
No, I am. I got to get back to 33. But what's funny is with the new baby, grandchild, baby boy Haber,
whose name is named to be announced. Maybe in next week's episode.
At the bris, it will be named. But I can give a hint. First name starts with an A after my father. Second name starts with a B after my father.
We're not going to go any further than that because we're going to avoid the bad juju of naming that.
But
and your son is a viewer, so we got to be careful. I don't want to incur the wrath of another
But the
Haber.
problem is when I went to the hospital, and this was the kicker of how I know I have to go on a diet. Besides, none of my clothes fit.
Is the doctor told you?
No,
because that usually is.
I put the baby across my
the
arms.
baby rested perfectly on.
He rested perfectly on my belly.
The baby is most comfortable.
And I have to tell you,
it's like a Sealy Posturepedic.
When I saw that baby,
it's a Four Seasons
on my
bed.
belly, I said, I got to get rid of this belly.
Well, it's funny. On that note, I was thinking as we were talking with David Podein, I was thinking, so a lot of people know and who follow me online know that I'm a big advocate of the gym that I go to, Anatomy. And, Anatomy is in the one hotel. I can tell you years ago, I had talked to Anatomy ownership actually about potentially importing their brand into a condominium. A more standalone condominium, and
that goes to branding.
It was the first iteration, but saying, man, a lifestyle brand, right? David was kind of poking fun at me and some of the stuff that I do in lifestyle, but to say, there's a sensibility. I mean, I could easily see a big national brand like an Equinox, an Equinox condo. Sure, I mean, how easy would that be?
With a great super gym.
Oh man, I mean, I can
and a health juice bar and a fancy healthy restaurant.
Absolutely. I mean, that seems like
I want to see National Geographic have a hotel.
That was the best idea you've had.
No, because
I'm there
because then they could also give discounts on the National Geographic cruises and on their safaris and all these other things. They could have people come in and give lectures.
I think that point of
I'm taking that idea, folks. Do not steal it.
What do you tangibly get with a branded residence as opposed to just the cachet? But no, it's meaningful because I get to go on a National Geographic cruise every year. I get to do this. I get to do that.
And you get access to the cruises that are the most difficult to get on. And you get, special extras. You get people to come and lecture.
Or if there's a middle market approach and to say it's the JetBlue residences and everybody who buys in JetBlue gets an automatic 20% discount on all the fares. And that might not be that consequential to the airline, but to the end user, it could be hugely consequential.
Absolutely.
You don't get discounts on airfare. I mean, that
not anymore.
Yeah, that kind of stuff could be absolutely gigantic.
You don't even get pretzels sometimes.
But I love the idea of an ESG, right? Environmental sustainability and governance. I love the idea of an ESG. We obviously saw LEED in the commercial market for
explain to every man what LEED is.
LEED certification, which is bronze, silver, gold. There is essentially these certifications in terms of environmental and sustainable processes and infrastructure within a building, and that was some of the guiding principles behind a lot of new buildings. And there's tax credits. There's obviously energy savings. There's reasons behind it. It's a little less dominant than it used to be, and ESG, environmental sustainability and governance, has now sort of taken over in terms of more of a working philosophy in terms of there's tax benefits along with that. But I love the idea of a more environmentally sound building that was my idea. That can really qualify.
That was your idea. Can I share a takeaway that I got from David, and I'll be interested to hear your takeaway? Is that with the whole brand of these buildings, that at the end of the day, other than your personal preference or how you feel about the brand, it really doesn't matter to a certain extent. That's kind of what I got out
right
of it.
now. But if they were smart and they were able to either cross-market or provide other benefits besides the Deservator or the
Deservator?
Deservator. Shout out to Gil. The Deservator. Other than that, for cars, right now, I don't know what you're getting. Right. But as we talked about with lifestyle brand, you could really get a lot.
Right. You really could.
I mean, really.
Especially with a national brand where that might extend. I'm using the Equinox example.
Sure.
That could extend to, that means you have, free entry into any Equinox all over the world.
I want Nike brand. I'm going to talk to Phil Knight, and I want to get the Nike building where Michael Jordan comes to meet everybody in the building for, like a social.
Play around a golf with you and bet, $500,000 a hole.
He might, but I don't think I would accept the wager. But the point is, again, there's a situation where they have access to athletes.
Right.
So imagine the Nike building and you get access to sporting events and athletes, or a building, based on a film studio, Universal or MGM, if they even exist anymore. And you get access to, stars to come to your building and give a lecture or talk to you or have a cocktail hour.
I think there's even potentially some efficacy.
I have too many ideas here.
I think there's some efficacy in even building on legacy brands that may not even exist anymore. I'm a big aircraft and airline enthusiast, and imagining a Pan Am building, right? I mean, which was
they actually had one in New York for 70 years.
The Pan Am building, of course, but imagining a Pan Am branded residence, which was sort of the the highest pinnacle of service, right? The way they dressed, the way they served food, and to say, imagine capitalizing on a legacy brand status that may or may not actually have a market position anymore, but that is that's meaningful, and I can see that as well.
I
also like an Emirates brand,
right?
Sometimes I think I watch too much YouTube. I was watching a video about,
which is not to take away from you watching us on YouTube,
right? Absolutely,
you better be watching us.
Absolutely, is that the legacy brands of airlines are actually now doing better than the economy. Your Spirit Airlines.
Well, look at Virgin.
Right.
Well,
Virgin went into
TWA at JFK. The TWA hotel at JFK is, if you haven't visited, is a masterpiece.
Right.
But look at Virgin Cruises, Virgin Airlines. They took that brand and they expanded it. I could see them doing a Virgin hotel.
But the reason why I bring that up is, David also said that the luxury uber high end is going to continue to do better.
For sure.
And so it seems to me that, we can talk about, affordability and the missing middle and all of that, but it seemed like at the very highest end that is going to continue to be successful, and it seemed like that's trending overall.
I think if you have a takeaway on that, it is that as the missing middle continues to be missing, and we have more rich and poor in this country, and you have the uber rich, that branding is going to be focused in South Florida on the uber rich.
Absolutely.
You're going to have these architectural wonders like, the new Waldorf and some of the other buildings that have been built. Miami is going to be known as an architectural, wonder place. And branding is going to be part of it.
Right. But does that also open up the idea of more middle market brands with more substantive deliverable to the buyers? So if I live at Publix Place and I get 5% off at Publix for as long as I own the building, does that potentially for a middle class family spending $2,000 or $3,000 a year at Publix, or $5,000 a year, or $10,000 a year, and that turns into something substantive? Sure. Does that provide more meaning? And maybe the middle market.
How about having the Publix downstairs in your building?
And maybe that middle market is where some of these more tangible deliverables from a residence actually come into play. It's very difficult to imagine how the Bentley building is going to deliver a tangible product to its residents that's related to Bentley cars. I mean, absent
it's the car in the lobby,
absent giving them a car or having the car in the lobby, is there any other meaning to it?
But if the units are $10 to $20 million, which one day soon they'll be selling for $5,000.
Sure.
I mean, look at London.
We're already approaching it.
London is $5,000 to $10,000 a foot.
Right.
So in Miami is $4,000 a foot. So wait till we hit $5,000, $7,000 a foot. Giving away a $250,000 car with the unit is not out of the question.
Right, absolutely. And then I think when we start talking more broadly about the condo industry, and we talk about things like maintenance assessments and these budgets, and we start talking about things like labor, one of the things we don't see as practically in the market is the difference in wage for the people working at these uber luxury residences versus working at more middle market residences. There's not a significant difference. In other words, there is not a geometric correlation between the sale price per square foot of a condo and the salary of the employees who are working at it. Correct. So if I'm making $15 an hour at unbranded middle market condo at the front desk, yeah, maybe I'm making 20 at a higher end condominium association because the service expectations are high, but I'm not making 3 or 4 times more equivalent to the difference in the value.
And we've talked about on prior shows the issue of transportation. The more 100-story buildings we're going to have.
What I was getting to.
Where are these workers coming from? How far do they have to drive? Are we going to have public transportation? Because if we keep building 80, 90, 100-story buildings and we end up with a mini New York, if you will, how are the people getting to work?
Also, when reading up on this, there's also a thing where people who are living in these buildings that are having structural issues based on, the new laws and what happened at Surfside, et cetera, they're leaving those buildings to go to these newer ones that we're talking about.
That's right, yeah.
What impact does that have?
Great question.
Fantastic question. I think we're going to do a whole episode on terminations.
Okay.
We need to do one on terminations, and I think what's going to happen in some of those older buildings, we've talked about this on prior episodes as well, is you're going to have buildings where it doesn't make sense to spend $30 or $40 million. The property is worth more money to terminate the condo, knock it down, sell it to a developer. And we will do a show on terminations.
And yet another potential iteration that David and I have talked about, and though the sort of the legality of it and the idea of it is very foreign, the idea that you could take an existing condo and turn it into one of these hybrid models by divesting the interest in the common elements to a commercial parcel owner who can then turn the lobby into some sort of revenue producing, maybe there's a rental management agreement that gets put into place, and actually shift gears of an existing association that might be an alternative to termination when that number doesn't make sense. And it may be because the $30-40 million is what's needed, but otherwise it's a solid building otherwise, or maybe it's because we're going to get to a point where the list of terminations may be so long that people are seeking functional alternatives because there either isn't a buyer or the division is so backed up in terms of considering terminations and the process that goes along with it, there's going to have to be a different version of termination.
With that, I think we can wrap it.
Yeah, this was a great episode, and I think it's something for us to build on in a lot of future episodes. And we certainly appreciate David Podein's participation, and
we appreciate Travis and
Travis and Taylor. We appreciate this. We appreciate you posting us on your social media as you've done, and getting us all those viewers and subscribers. It's a wonderful
Swifties.
And next week, it sounds like we will have the big reveal on the Haber grandchild name, which is very exciting. And,
super exciting. And really looking forward to. Not looking forward to the circumcision, but definitely looking forward to the afterwards.
And I do understand, as a brief aside, that circumcision for a select group may actually be shared on some kind of live stream.
Okay. Yeah, I hope everybody looks away.
Yeah, we're not.
I don't think we're going to do live stream of the actual event.
We're not going to provide.
But
that
the bagels and tuna fish and lox and egg salad, that will be live streaming.
I don't think there's any better place for us to leave the episode than that. This is Sun, Sand, and Sold. I'm Josh Tumby with David Haber and Kyle Haggerty. Please join us on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Apple, and on Spotify, or join us on our website, www.sunsandandsold.com. Great to see everybody. We'll see you next time.